All right, let's dive straight into what is arguably one of the absolute most critical sections of the Cambridge IT 9626 syllabus. Today, we're unpacking section 2.2, which is all about the pros and cons of different types of system software. And look, whether you're prepping for your AS or your full A-level exams, mastering this specific topic isn't just about trying to memorize a textbook. It's really about understanding the logic of the technology and honestly, understanding the logic of the exam itself. So we're basically going to open up the examiner's playbook today to see exactly how those top marks are awarded and where most students end up losing them.
What's really wild about this specific topic is the sheer weight it carries on the exam. If you look at historical past paper trends and examiner insights, questions testing your knowledge of system software, and specifically evaluating its advantages and disadvantages, account for roughly 15% of the total marks in paper 2. Just pause and think about that for a second. 15%. That is literally enough to bump you up an entire grade boundary. If you're treating this section as just a quick afterthought, you are leaving a massive amount of points on the table. But if you figure out the underlying framework of how examiners actually want you to answer these questions, you're going to give yourself a massive advantage.
So here is our game plan to secure every single one of those marks. We're breaking this down into 4 pillars: core principles, the method mark strategy, examiner warnings, and critical analysis. Let's get into it.
Starting off with Section 1, Core System Software Principles.
Okay, first things first. Rote memorization of software types simply won't cut it anymore. The examiners are not testing your ability to act like a dictionary, right? They want to see if you can think like an actual IT professional. The syllabus makes it super clear that top-performing students show what they call connected conceptual understanding. Basically, your mastery of these principles has to be completely transferable to totally unfamiliar contexts. Because, let's be real, the exam is almost certainly going to throw some bizarre, hyper-specific scenario at you, like maybe an automated manufacturing plant or a specialized hospital network. If you only know the textbook definition of a network operating system, but you can't explain its specific advantages in that real-time hospital environment, you're going to miss the mark. Your conceptual framework has to adapt on the fly. So how do we actually build that framework? Well, the principal examiner reports tell us exactly what the highest scoring candidates consistently do. First, they apply incredibly precise definitions. Second, they establish causal relationships. This means they don't just say, oh, system software X is faster. No, they explain exactly why its architecture causes a faster processing speed in that specific scenario. And third, they demonstrate cross-topic connections. They'll take a piece of system software and tie it back to hardware limitations or maybe network security protocols. They show the examiner, hey, I understand how this whole IT ecosystem fits together.
Moving right along, let's get into Section 2, the method mark strategy.
Okay, so when you're staring down a really daunting past paper question that's asking you to evaluate system software, how do you actually attack it? You follow the standardized sequence right here. Step 1, identify the key elements in whatever text or data they've given you. Step 2, apply your IT principles. Step 3, execute your analysis. Step 4, verify that your results actually make logical sense in the real world. And finally, Step 5, present your information clearly using the right conventions, like proper headings, professional terminology, all of that. Following these exact steps forces you to systematically interpret relationships rather than just kind of guessing and hoping for the best. Guys, you absolutely cannot ignore this next point. This is a direct alert from the examiners. Students throw away marks by not showing their working. Even if your final answer is completely wrong, method marks can totally save you. In IT, we kind of have this habit of thinking that showing your working is only for math equations, but when you are evaluating the pros and cons of system software, your working is your logical deduction. It's explaining the why before you drop the final what. The process itself earns points. Even if your ultimate software recommendation is technically off base, if your logical process was sound and you wrote it down, the examiner can and will award you method marks.
Which brings us nicely to Section 3, the top 3 examiner warnings.
Let's look at exactly where people are bleeding easy points, pulled straight from the examiner reports. Pitfall number 1, using the wrong approach for the wrong context. You could write the most brilliant, technically flawless analysis of an operating system, but if it doesn't solve the specific business problem they gave you in the prompt, you are scoring a 0. Pitfall number 2, forgetting to check format conventions. Look, if the question specifically asks for a report, please do not write a casual essay. And pitfall number 3, this is the big one, the classic trap, answers that aren't specific to the given context. If you just brain dump a generic textbook list of the advantages of utility software, that is the fastest possible way to stay stuck in the average grade boundaries. You have to tailor it. Actually, I've got a quick memory hack for you to help avoid these context traps.
Use a visual story method while you're studying to really encode these concepts deep into your brain. So, for example, when you're reviewing device drivers, don't just stare at the definition. Picture an active scene. Imagine a frantic translator at the United Nations, right? He's desperately trying to translate the obscure language of a hardware device into the language of the operating system before everything crashes. By turning the software's function into a vivid story, you're building that connected conceptual understanding we talked about earlier. Then, when the exam throws a weird context at you, your brain can just map your visual story directly onto the new scenario. It's a total game changer.
All right, home stretch. Let's look at Section 4, Mastering Critical Analysis.
This right here is where we separate the average grades from the absolute top tier. We've got a clear split between two types of candidates. On the left, we have descriptive candidates. The average student just describes the software. They list facts. It's fine, but it's basic. On the right, we have evaluative candidates. A top-scoring student demonstrates evaluative thinking. They consider different angles, they weigh alternatives, they even question the assumptions made in the prompt itself. And most importantly, they justify their decisions with hard evidence. You don't just want to tell the examiner what a piece of system software does, you need to evaluate how well it does it compared to the other options. So, how do you actually reach that elite evaluative level? You use the deconstruct, solve, evaluate framework. Whenever you face a complex problem, first, systematically identify the given info. Second, break the problem down into logical steps. Third, and this is crucial, as you write your answer, constantly check for reasonableness. Like, does this software solution actually make financial sense for this specific company's budget? Does it fit their infrastructure? And fourth, make justified recommendations. That word, justified, is literally everything. Your recommendation has to be backed up by the causal relationships and the cross-topic connections we established back in Section 1. Think of this table as a ladder. It maps out exactly how the Cambridge assessment objectives work and what you need to do to climb to the top grades. If you're only operating at the descriptive level, just stating definitions, you're getting low marks. If you step up to the analytical level and actually interpret relationships, you're hitting the medium marks. But if you want to max out that massive 15% weighting we talked about at the start of the video, you absolutely must operate at the evaluative level. You have to justify your recommendations. You are essentially proving to the examiner that you can think critically about the pros and cons of any system software they threw at you. As you gear up for Paper 2, and Section 2.2 in particular, I want to leave you with this one vital question to think about. Take a hard look at your study habits today. Are you just memorizing facts, or are you actually proving your methodology? Next time you sit down to practice a past paper, catch yourself and ask, wait, am I just describing this software, or am I truly evaluating it? Grasping that difference is your key to unlocking an A-star. Thanks for hanging out with me for this deep dive, and I will catch you in the next explainer.